I spent $7 on an iced vanilla latte at my favorite coffee shop, and it got me thinking, how much does my at-home coffee really cost me per latte? So I did some math, and I think it's accurate. So the only ingredients I really need for my vanilla syrup is vanilla bean paste and brown sugar. For a 20-ounce bag of my brown sugar, it cost me $3.98. For a 2-ounce bottle of the vanilla bean paste, it is $10.32. And I know you can find other options, but this one's my favorite. For the brown sugar, I use 1 cup, so that's $1.49. I use 2 tablespoons of the vanilla bean paste, and that brings the total to $5.16. This gives me about a cup and a half of the syrup. Okay, while I continue to chat, let's make the iced latte. In each of my iced lattes, I use about a tablespoon, sometimes 2 teaspoons, depending on the day. I use about a tablespoon of syrup, so that brings the total of the syrup per serving to 83 cents. Let's clip that right there so we can keep talking. Today I'm not using the vanilla syrup because I am all out of ingredients for it, so I'm using one that's gifted to me, and it's the caramel brulee sauce, and it is so scrumptious. Thanks, Emily. So again, I'm just using a tablespoon of that just to stick with the accurate ratios. So the bag of coffee beans I use are a little bit more expensive. They're $29.95 for a 12-ounce bag, and I use about 18 grams per latte. The 18 grams gives me 2 shots of espresso. But if I divide that out per the amount of lattes I make, I'm spending $1.58 on each latte with the beans. I use 18 grams of espresso beans, so that brings the total of the espresso bean portion in my latte to $1.58. A gallon of milk is $3.52, and I use about 6 ounces in a latte. In a latte, my milk comes to 17 cents. Now if we bring all the totals together, you're going to add up the syrup, the milk, the espresso, and my at-home latte comes to $2.58. I know my vanilla bean syrup is a little bit on the pricier side, but that's going to fluctuate depending on your servings. Like I said, sometimes I do 2 teaspoons instead of a tablespoon. That's going to change in itself. Depending on your sweetness that you like, your strength of your espresso, that price is going to fluctuate, but it's going to be around that $2.58. Maybe even less depending on the beans that you chose, because obviously the beans I have are a bit more expensive, but they are incredible and so high quality. I'm not saying don't go to a coffee shop, because I love a good coffee shop and I will still go to a good coffee shop. I was just curious to see how much it cost me to make my iced lattes at home, and $2.58 it is. And if I were to keep getting my $7 latte every single time I wanted coffee, I would pay it off in 99 visits to a coffee shop, which is insane. That's scrumptious. Have a great day. Thanks for coming. Hopefully this was interesting. Hopefully my math was accurate. Anyways, happy Tuesday.